Hey, how's it going? I'm gonna be talking about some stupid things that really only impact me, so if you want to skip to the reviewing part, you can go skip to that time right there. Pretty cool time, if I do say so myself. Hey guys, it's Bond, and recently I've been getting into reviewing things again. For those of you who don't know, which is probably a majority of you, I used to review games back in the day, like 2015-ish. But then I started doing commentary videos and that got popular, so I continued doing that. But now I want to get back into reviewing things. And since I'm apparently becoming a music channel now because I have a lot of things talking about music for some reason, why don't I talk about something that I care about? Which is mashups and stuff. Mashup culture has been exploding recently with the likes of people like Damian or Savior and Manic Pop. People who make good mashups and megamixes and stuff. Of course, there are some veterans of the industry that do still make good stuff, but the majority of really good ones came out recently. Or at least like a couple years ago, they started getting increasingly more popular and increasingly more good. Now in this first installment of my new series that probably won't catch on, we're going to be talking about one of those veterans of the industry, Galactic Hole. Galactic Hole is definitely a big part of me being a fan of mashup, SoundCloud culture. He was pretty much the first mashup artist that I came across, and he made good stuff. Recently, as in a couple years ago and a couple years ago, he created 2 megamixes. For those of you who don't know, it's just making a giant mashup of millions of songs. I have strong feelings about both of them, so why don't we talk about that then? Let's commence episode 1 of Megamix review, shall we? Before we begin the review, I would like to say that if you have not seen Maximum Mashup Megamix 1 or 2, there will be links in the description to both of them so that you at least know what I'm talking about. First off, we're going to be talking about the first one, Maximum Mashup Megamix 1, which is good. It's definitely the better of the 2, in my opinion. A majority of the songs do work together, and the ones that don't really don't interfere with the ones that do, so that's always a plus. He definitely tried to make it a good mashup mix. Of course, there are things that I can complain about, such as the transitions between songs. They are not that good. I mean, they work, but they are not the best transitions to use. There's a large amount of the blunt stop transitions, like the really big song megamix thing is happening, and then abrupt end of that, and then another one starts. That kind of transition. There's a lot of that in this megamix, and I feel like it's overused a little bit. If the second one improved on anything, it would definitely be the transitions, because there's not that much good happening in transition department on this one. This is more of a minor complaint, just something that I have a gripe about. Some of the songs are sped up or slowed down too much to the point where it sounds awkward and not that good. One example of the video I could think of is Whales, which apparently was sped up way too much. It didn't really sound that good, but that doesn't really impact the megamix that much. It's more just a gripe that I have, just a pet peeve that I have with megamixes and stuff. And the ending isn't that good. I know that the ending is the thing that everyone complains about, but the ending just kind of abruptly stops, basically. But I know that that's the thing that everyone complains about, so I'm not going to be talking about it that much. Just so you know, the ending in the second one is definitely better, because it actually ends, yeah. Speaking of the second one, we're going to be talking about the second one now, which I feel is not good. There's been a lot of praise in the comment section and all that stuff in the second one, but I just don't see why people think that this is good. It's not that good. Compared to the first one, and even just not compared to anything on its own, it's mediocre at best. First off, the mixing and the actual mashing up of the songs isn't really that good. A lot of the time the melodies clash and they're not that well of a fit for each other. I mean, there are some things that I do like. There are sequences in the mix that I do like Robot Walking Down with the Sickness, or Someone Like You and Faded. That works. Those are the things that work, so I like those parts. But there's a large majority of parts that don't work, so I don't like them. And I did say that the transitions were improved in the second one, but that doesn't mean that the transitions were good in the second one. The transitions were still kind of, sometimes they were abrupt to abrupt, sometimes they weren't really transitions, they were just cutting to a different mix. A couple of minor complaints: sometimes there were too many vocals at once, which kind of doesn't sound good. I mean, if the vocals worked with each other, like it sounded like a duet or something, it would work, but majority of the time it doesn't work when there are multiple vocals at once. And I think the pitch shifting in this is not that good. Sometimes the songs are too low or too high. Just minor complaints, but those are things that I would like to discuss. And for the second one, I think that there were too many sources. Like, I feel like he was just trying to make one that had more in it, and not one that's better with more in it. Like, every once in a while there are like 6 or 7 sources at once, and it doesn't sound good. It sounds garbled. And with the fact that a majority of the songs don't work with each other, that's definitely not good when you have like 10 sources at once and a majority of them don't work. Like, in those big clusters, there are things that do work, but there's a lot of things that also don't work, and they kind of counteract the things that do work that make it just don't work. And I feel like the big amount of contests that you hosted to just throw sources that people suggested as prizes, I don't think that that helps your case, really. Because, like, you can make one with more sources. If you're trying to improve it and more sources improves it and makes it better, you can do that as long as they work. And with the more sources in this one, they just don't work at all. And finally, this only happens like 2 times in the entire mix, but every once in a while there's this transition, I guess, where the tempo kind of gradually increases, which doesn't sound good. If you want to change the tempo, you can make it subtle enough so that we won't notice it and make it good sounding, but just having the tempo rise while songs are happening, it doesn't sound good. And obvious that it doesn't sound good because it's obvious that it's there. If you wanted to change the tempo, you could have done something that made it not like it changed the tempo, made it just like a smooth transition, but the transitions aren't very good in this one, so I'm probably asking for too much. In conclusion, there are things that I do like in both of these things, but I feel as though they're overpraised a little bit. The first one's definitely better than the second one, and there's a lot of good things in the first one. There are good things in the second one, but there's just more negatives than positives. In conclusion, if you were to make a third one, be sure to at least take some of these points to heart. Like, make sure that the songs work, and not that just more songs. Make the transitions better, really. Those are the 2 big things that I'm trying to point out in this. Anyways, this was just me pretty much rambling about a mashup artist that I like and complaining that their songs suck, so I'll see you all in the next video, and goodbye.